Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, it is a beautiful night in Chicago, and we welcome you to Wrigley Field. It's the final game this season the Reds will play in this historic venue, and they're looking for a win to get out of this three-game series. Right now, they're thinking about a run. They have been shut out the first two games of this series. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brennan, and welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. Now, we remember when the Reds were in Baltimore earlier this month. They had been completely shut down. Brian Price inserts a bunch of guys who have been either backups or brought up when the roster's expanded, and they scored 7 runs that night. Same kind of lineup tonight.
Well, you do have the same kind of lineup tonight, Tom. I'm not saying they're going to go out and score 7 runs because the pitcher that the Cubs is throwing tonight is a pretty good pitcher. But, you know, these guys are out here. They're trying to earn their way up here. They're trying to get into a little bit of a groove and show Brian Price and his coaching staff and Walt Jocketty, who is in town, that they may be deemed worthy in 2015. You see what the Reds offense has done the last 2 games, 4 for 53. Well, you can't do a whole lot worse than that, so why not run out some young blood?
Well, Chris, I know that you were impressed with David Holmberg. We've talked about that. What were your impressions of Daniel Corsino?
Well, you know, Daniel Corsino's not the same pitcher that I thought I would see. I thought I'd see a guy that was throwing low to mid-90s and really going right after the hitters with the fastball. But what impressed me about Corsino is his command of his off-speed pitches. He's got a feel for pitching. He changes speeds very well. And you're going to see a lot of those change-ups and sliders probably tonight as well.
All right, when we come back, Jim Day, we'll talk about the late, great Roberto Clemente. Baseball handing out the Roberto Clemente awards for each team today. Jim has that story. And Jim has a lot more tonight. Joey Votto, we'll hear about his situation when we return.
Clemente Day, honoring the life of the great Roberto Clemente in Major League Baseball. I'm Jim Day, and there are 30 nominees for the Roberto Clemente Award who best demonstrates on and off the field, being involved in the community, and honoring one of the best humanitarians baseball has ever seen in Roberto Clemente. Skip Schumacher is the Reds representative, and now starting today, you can vote online for the national recipient of the Roberto Clemente Award. Visit ChevyBaseball.com to vote for Skip or whoever you'd like to vote for. We'll have more throughout the game. Tom?
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. We'll be checking in with you regularly throughout the night tonight. I know you're going to bring us up to speed on, I mentioned before we went to break, the Joey Votto situation continues to grow more interesting. He took batting practice today again as Christopher Negron leads off the game and drives one into left center field. And that is up against the ivy, so a very nice start for this Reds team. A base hit from the first batter, a double by Negron.
You know, no doubt about it. I think that if you evaluate the players that the Reds have seen this year, really an extended look for the first time, Christopher Negron has shown probably more promise than all of them. Now, remember that he's 27 years old, so he's been around a little bit. Had a knee injury a couple of years ago, but he gets it going right away with a line shot to the left center field gap, very close to the spot where Brandon Phillips hit the ball last night to break up the no-hitter.
So now it'll be Ramon Santiago at 2:53, a home run, 13 runs batted in. It took the Reds over 2 hours and 20 minutes to get their first hit in the game here last night. Santiago lays it down beautifully. He'll get a sacrifice to advance a runner. Negron stands at third with 1 out in the inning. Take a look at the Reds lineup tonight, presented by Meyer. You've seen Negron and Santiago. Here comes Yorman Rodriguez. Ryan Ludwig in the cleanup spot. Donald Lutz in right. Jack Hanahan, the nod at first base. The latter third of Jake Elmore, Tucker Barnhart, and Daniel Corsino. Yorman Rodriguez with a chance against Kyle Hendricks, who's thrown the ball well in his 11th start.
Yeah, and you may wonder why is Yorman Rodriguez batting in the number 3 spot. Well, you know, you're batting in front of really one of the only veterans on this ball club in the lineup today, trying to get him some fastballs. And he'll get his first major league run batted in with that ground ball. Way to go, Yorman.
So he did the job. Went after the first pitch, put the ball in play. Cubs conceding the run. And after 3 batters tonight, the Reds have their first run in this series. Took them 4 pitches to do it.
Crowded but happy dugout.
Good for Yorman Rodriguez. First of what he hopes will be many, many, many more major league runs batted in. So 2 down, and now Ryan Ludwig, the batter. 9 home runs, 44 batted in. And he's behind a strike. A couple of young pitchers in this series have been very impressive. You had Travis Wood. I mean, he's still young. He certainly has been around for a while. But Jake Arrieta last night, the complete game 1 hitter. Struck out 13 batters while walking only 1. This is a fly ball to left, and this will do it in the Reds' first inning. But for the first inning in this series, it is a scoring inning. Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. Let's take a look at the Cubs starting lineup tonight. Under their skipper Rick Renteria, it'll be Chris Coghlan, Javier Baez, and Anthony Rizzo back in the lineup. Jorge Soler in right, Luis Valbuena third, Wellington Castillo catching. With a latter third of Chris Valaika, Ryan Kalish in center, and Kyle Hendricks on the mound. Daniel Corsino, his fourth major league game, his second major league start. His first start was a good one against Milwaukee.
Well, he, like his counterpart, Kyle Hendricks, is just 24 years old. In fact, he made his debut on his birthday, back when he made his debut at Cincinnati against this same Cubs ball club, coming out of the bullpen to pitch a scoreless inning. Those are the numbers that he's put up so far: 8-7 strikeouts in 8 2/3 innings.
A couple of years ago, there were many likening Corsino to Johnny Cueto coming up through the Reds organization. He took a step back last year, had a very tough year at AAA Louisville after putting together a couple of very impressive years coming up through the Reds minor league system. Was back in Double-A most of this year. And now getting a chance here with injuries to the starting rotation, Homer Bailey and more recently Matt Latos. Getting a chance to make now a second start. 1-1 to Coghlan. And it's in the air straight away center field. That's easy for Yorman. One away. The Reds on defense presented by your Ford dealers. Rodriguez has already knocked in a run tonight, joined by Ludwig and Lutz. Santiago and Hanahan on the corners. Elmore over to second base, and Negron at short tonight. Tucker Barnhart, a rare start since being brought up. Javier Baez, the batter. Playing in his 42nd game since being brought up from the minor leagues. He's one of these guys they're very excited about. Baez, Soler in the lineup tonight. Alcantara, we've seen him. And the young man they honored on the field before the game, who was supposed to be the best of them all, he more than likely would be named the minor league player of the year in all of minor league baseball. I would be willing to bet on it in Baseball America before the season is over, and that would be Chris Bryant. Clubbed over 40 home runs, knocking in over 115 runs, and they honored him as the Cubs minor league player of the year on the field before the game tonight.
You know, it would be nice to have seen Bryant. Maybe one of the reasons why you don't do that, because you don't want any major league service time to start ticking unnecessarily for young players, putting them on a 40-man roster prematurely and so on. But, you know, it would be nice to see maybe a change in the baseball rules so there wouldn't be such a penalty for a ball club to advance a young man early on and not pay a penalty by having him put on the roster, and then you make him, you know, you keep him on the roster, maybe too mature, too quickly to make him free agent and so on. Just some way to so that fans on a ball club like the Cubs or the Reds that are out of it, and you want to bring a kid up out of the minor leagues that you're talking about, an exciting player that had a terrific year, and you want to give your fans just a taste of what he looks like, that would be worth the while bringing him up to do that. Teams don't do it now because I'm not even sure if Bryant is on the 40-man roster, but if he's not, you have to put him on the roster, and then all things start happening as far as options and so on and so forth. So I just think it would be kind of interesting for the fans to be able to do that.
And that is the definition of when you hear a lot of baseball people, and those of us close to it, we're probably guilty of using phrases sometimes, but not everybody understands. And that's what they mean, though, by you start the clock. It advances sooner rather than later. A player, as that is a swing and a miss, it goes into the stands. And Baez will safely reach first base after a strikeout.
Well, Baez was waiting the entire at bat for a breaking ball. He took two fastballs for strikes. Corsino gets this one down, and normally Tucker Barnhart is as good as anybody behind the plate blocking balls. That ball looked like it just jumped up, went off his shoulder and into the stands.
He scored a strikeout and then a wild pitch.
Look where Rizzo is on the plate. This is kind of an interesting thing because you don't see all that many players nowadays crowding the plate. I mean, he's pretty much right. He's in the back of the batter's box. By the time he brings that front foot around, he's right on that front line or on the line closest to the inner part of the plate.
Well, look at his hands. Here's a quick throw down to first and a runner back.
And his hands, from our perspective in that center field camera, look like they're almost in the strike zone. And if he's as close as he is, I mean, I can tell you that it gives you a different perspective when you're a pitcher. And I'm not sure why a lot of other young hitters, like like Javier Baez, would be a perfect example of a guy that get him right up on top of the dish and don't let him swing at anything on the inner part of the plate. And if you can throw it in there for a strike, that's great. But there aren't a lot of pitchers that really feel that comfortable about pitching inside consistently.
Of course, from what little we've seen of Baez, his weak spot appears to be anything that's away from him.
Well, anything with a little spin on it,
exactly. I mean, he has been a strikeout machine since being brought up from the minor leagues. But again, he's very, very young. They believe he's going to be an outstanding everyday player moving forward. He'll be in their lineup next year. You can pretty much take that to the bank.
Well, you look at the hole that Anthony Rizzo has dug in the back of that batter's box is kind of a foothold. I mean, he just digs his foot in there. Look at that. He's got even a little mounded up. Don't let him feel too comfortable.
Of course, last night there was quite a brouhaha involving the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. Seems like every year those two teams are in some kind of a skirmish, but it got pretty hot and heavy last night.
I remember when I was playing with the Padres that a leadoff hitter of the game when Jim Bibby was pitching for the Pirates. Gene Richards was a leadoff hitter. He tried to scratch out a little foothold with some artificial turf cleats. The batter's box was like concrete. And Jim Bibby came halfway in and said, "Go ahead and dig a hole. I'll bury you in it." That was before the first pitch of the game. The first two pitches, needless to say, Gene Richards had to hit the deck, helmet flying, bat flying everywhere. And he struck out on the next three pitches, never got the bat off the shoulder. He came back to the dugout and said, "Man, that guy got some good stuff today." You don't see that kind of stuff
anymore. Go
ahead
and dig a hole, I'll bury you in it. That's a great line. 3-2 the count again. Corsino's thrown 17 pitches. 7 of these have been fouled away so far. I saw Jim Bibby pitch for 2 minor league seasons when my dad was announcing for the Tidewater Tides. Came up in the Mets organization. Big dude. Big.
Didn't want to mess with him.
No. Swing and a miss. And out by 25 feet is Baez. And that'll end the inning. You just talked about Tucker Barnhart. I know you've been very high on his all-around game. Flash in his arm. At that bottom of the first inning, Chris, we've talked the last number of years about the defensive prowess of one Tucker Barnhart.
Well, Tucker Barnhart won the Gold Glove in the minor leagues a couple of years ago. That is as the best catcher in the minor leagues, not just the Reds catcher. And he shows off a pretty good arm. He's very good, athletic behind the plate, very quick behind the plate, as well as fielding his position. Switch hitter. Could use a little more bat and may find himself in the big leagues next year.
All right, big Donald Lutz to lead things off. Only 46 at-bats at the big league level for Lutz. He has 8 hits. An RBI, 4 doubles. Reds scored in the first inning. Christopher Negron led off the game with a double. Santiago bunted him to third, and Yorman Rodriguez drove in his first big league run with a ground out. We will keep you up to speed what's going on in pennant races, especially in the National League. A dramatic come-from-behind extra inning victory for Milwaukee in St. Louis last night. They tied the game against Cardinal closer Trevor Rosenthal. That ball driven down the left field line, foul. And then the Brewers won the game in extra innings to remain a game and a half behind the Pirates, who beat Boston last night for that second wild card. Now the Giants are the leaders in the wild card. They've already beaten Arizona today. And the Pirates have jumped all over Boston. It is 4-0 in the third inning. The Pirates and the Brewers play one another this weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That is a big series. Out of there on strikes. First strikeout for Hendricks. Let's take a look at our MLB storylines brought to you by Elk & Elk. Serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Well, we know 3 teams have clinched. The LA Angels of Anaheim. It's been a couple of years since they've been in the postseason. Baltimore. They win their division for the first time since '97. Washington Nationals under first-year manager Matt Williams going to the playoffs for the second time in 3 years.
What do you think about the potential of an Orioles-Nationals World Series? Do you think that would fire up people all over the country?
No. Do you?
Yeah, I do. I think a lot of people would be interested. I mean, it's like a backyard fight, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Just about inside the same city. They're so close to each other.
They are. But of all the potential matchups in the World Series, is there one, or maybe you just said that, Salute, is there one that you would like to see more than the rest?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there are a couple of teams that are kind of dark horse, long shots that I wouldn't mind seeing going into the playoffs and having some fun. And they're in the division with the Reds. I mean, I'd like to see the Pirates. I mean, if it can't be the Reds, you got to have another favorite, I guess.
Yep.
And I think that I just like the way the Clint Hurdle has handled that ball club. I like watching that club play. I don't know if they've got the guns anyway in their pitching staff to go deep enough into the playoffs and beat some of those other teams, but that would be kind of interesting. Dodgers, Angels, that's another backyard fight between those two teams from the same city. Or you could go cross the country. You could see, say, Giants, Baltimore. What about you?
It's a good question. I really have not given it any thought at all.
Well, me neither. You can tell by my answer.
No, but I mean, you brought up, you know, the backyard brawls, to use your terminology, and those would be interesting series. What about the Giants and the A's? They had that one back in the earthquake year of 1989. That'd be another potential. Cardinals and the Royals, possibly. Their strike 3 call. We'll ask Jim Day about that when we come back. We haven't checked in with Jimbo yet tonight.
Aggressive in the strike zone. He got ahead, and it made a big difference. And when he wasn't ahead, he was still able to throw a changeup or breaking ball over the plate for a strike, so they couldn't simply sit on his fastball. And I thought his location was very good. He worked a very good game plan, wasn't giving in to hitters and throwing a lot of good fastballs to hit when he was behind in the count. And he was more aggressive than I anticipated.
Brian Price was pleasantly surprised with Daniel Corsino's first major league start. Now, his battery mate on that day was Brian Pena. Tonight it is Tucker Barnhart. Talked to Tucker before the game, and he said he had caught Corsino down at low A and a little bit in double A, but the two missed each other last year when Corsino started at triple A and went back to double A, and Barnhart was just the opposite, double A to triple A. But he says just to have some familiarity with him helps, even though Corsino, as you mentioned, Chris, a different pitcher now. He's much more looking at commanding all pitches, not trying to overpower guys. But Tucker says he's got a pretty good feel of a game plan tonight.
Well, that's what pitching is all about. I mean, we've seen it up here in the major leagues, 95, 96. That's hitting speed for these guys. So the days of just rearing back and trying to fog it by him, unless you're a one-inning reliever, forget about it.
I'll tell you what, he's been impressive early on here tonight. You even made that comment, Chris, after the bottom of the first inning. Good movement tonight, especially with that fastball. He struck out 2 batters. One did reach on a wild pitch in the first inning. 2-2 to count on Soler.
He's got action on his fastball. That's you see. And you know what? Sometimes you just take the radar gun. You don't even bother turning it on. And I think that's the case with Corsino. You let the hitters tell you how hard you throw. And he does have action on that fastball. And if he can learn to spot it up, and he's got a pretty good idea, just misses off the plate there. 91 is plenty enough to win in the major leagues. I mean, that's the range where Mike Leake works most of his games. I mean, he's thrown up to 93, 94 miles an hour when he's had to, I think, at times. But for the most part, Mike Leake is about the same type of velocity range that you have with Corsino. So if Leake can win in the big leagues, why can't Corsino? It's all about commanding your stuff.
Jim, I didn't want to leave you out of the conversation. You're just as integral as any of us to these telecasts each and every night of Reds baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. And You know, I asked Chris a little bit about, is there a matchup that he would like to see in the World Series in a little more than a month from now? Is there anybody you would like to see in particular?
Not sure I have a personal matchup, but I got to tell you, those in Major League Baseball, I bet you they got their fingers crossed for a Dodgers-Angels matchup. One, it's a large market. Obviously, it's a backyard war like you guys talked about, Baltimore and Washington. And you're talking about two very, very talented teams with lots of big names. So that would be very interesting for Major League Baseball and probably be a good shot in the arm.
Yeah, but I didn't ask Bud Selig that question. I asked you.
I'm kind of with Chris. I would like to probably see the Pirates in there. I think that would be very interesting. They've revitalized baseball in Pittsburgh, and I think that would go a long way for baseball. And like you guys, I kind of like the way they play. If it's not the Reds, then someone in the Central, except the Cardinals.
Fair enough. 0-2 on Luis Valbuena. One running foul out of play. You know, the one team we haven't talked about that is still very much in the race is Milwaukee. Game and a half out. That'd be a fun town for a World Series.
It sure would. And you wouldn't have to worry about it being too cold or maybe getting snow in October or anything like that. You just close that roof up and go play baseball.
Brewers a scoreless first in St. Louis. We'll keep you up to speed on that the rest of the night. Breaking ball down and in, 1-2 on Valbuena. Reds leading 1-0.
Look at Valbuena's bat. And look where he's got that line of pine tar. Didn't George Brett get tossed out of a ball game for something worse than that? I mean, what is the rule? 18 inches from the end of the bat to where that pine tar begins?
Hit, and that will advance a runner Soler first to third. So a leadoff walk followed by a single, and the Cubs are knocking at the door.
Trying to throw that ball down and away, and it's funny about sinking fastballs. They sink real good when you get them down around the knees. When you get them up around the waist, they just go from side to side.
Now Daniel trying to work his way out of a jam. First and third, none out. Wellington Castillo, a .240 batter, 11 home runs, 42 runs batted in. Breaking ball, it looked like he went. No on the appeal to the first base umpire and crew chief Bill Miller. Toby Baskin calling the balls and strikes tonight. Adrian Johnson in second and Mike Everett the umpire at third. Straight up in the air. Second baseman Elmore, the call and the catch, and everybody stays put. One out. Valleca playing in his 17th game with a major league club. In 16 games, he's done a nice job as far as run production. He has 11 runs batted in those 16 games. Valleca for 3 here last night, drew a bases loaded walk as part of that 5-run 6 against Johnny Cueto. You know, the other town that neither you nor Jim Day nor Commissioner Seelig talked about, Detroit. Now there's a city that gets excited about postseason baseball. Great ballpark, Comerica. Baseball down the middle, steal right one. They've got some big name sluggers in that lineup, led by the main man, Miguel Cabrera. Winging a foul ball back out of play. That's really good location there. I mean, I'd only be 88 miles an hour, but that looked like a good spot under the hand.
Well, there's something to be said for throwing it at 88 and throwing it at the right spot. Look at how this ball really takes off, although he wanted that ball low and away, and you see how much he misses his target by. Sometimes if you miss it but don't miss it over the plate, you can still get away with a bad pitch.
Now 0-2 on Valleca. Runners on the corners, 1 out. Reds in front, 1-0. Oh boy. Corsino wanted that call, didn't get it. Wow, it's a good pitch. A long look in, and the 1-2 pitch on the way. Ground ball that will get through in the left field to tie the game. 1-1. Valleca's 12th run batted in.
Well, that goes to show you how one pitch can change the entire at bat and then the entire ball game. Just ties it up at 1 after a pitch that looked like a long backstracks, and it was certainly a strike on the corner. He comes right back. This time Valleca's able to find a hole with a ground ball.
Now Blaine advances on to second base. 1 in, 2 on, 1 out for the number 8 hitter and center fielder Ryan Kalish. To Kalish. Now Corsino falls behind 2-0, and Tucker Barnard wants to visit. Well, right now, our AT&T call to action. You can tweet your photo using hashtag #OhioFanPhoto. Perhaps we'll show it during a game here over the final 10 days of the year. It's brought to you by AT&T. I know that a couple of you have already emailed in your questions. In fact, dozens already. Anticipating Jim Day bringing us up to date on Joey Votto. I had brought that up earlier, and I failed to get back to Jim. So we will get that shortly. There's a drive in a straightaway center field. And that ball is up against the ivy, lost in the ivy. Rodriguez throws his hands in the air. You don't reach in there or they'll keep running around. Ball's in there, and that's a ground rule double. And the Cubs have a 2-1 lead on a double by Ryan Kalish.
That ball hit very well by the number 8 hitter in the lineup. Kalish is the guy that's getting some playing time here in center field tonight. It just disappears.
And that's what everyone is taught to do when you come here, either as a new player with the Cubs or part of the visiting team's outfield. The ball goes in there on a bounce or in the air. Do not reach in there to get it. Now the pitcher showing bunt. Part of perhaps a safety squeeze. A runner did not come charging down the line, obviously. Ball 1 on Kyle Hendricks, who has 2 hits and 20 at bats. Infield in. Well, if there's ever a pitch that you might consider a safety squeeze, this would be the pitch. Pitcher has to throw a strike here. Behind 2-0. He takes right down the middle, a strike. By staying put, Corsino will get the out at first. Now, see, there's a play, Chris, that I just do not understand. I don't get it. I mean, we could sit here for the next 100 years, and someone might have a perfectly logical explanation, and I would just have a hard time trying to grasp it.
Well, the explanation, the only one I can think of, is that if you put down a good enough bunt that appears like it's a really good bunt coming off the bat, the runner reads that, and at that point he breaks towards home and he'll be safe. But then you're asking a pitcher who has a hard enough time putting a bunt down fair anyway to make a good one in a certain spot where it looks like it's going to be good enough for the runner to score. That's very low percentage play. Now,
and you've been a runner at third down there. I mean, that seems like a tough vantage point to really tell if it's a good bunt or a mediocre bunt.
You're right. I mean, it puts pressure on the runner because certainly the third base coach has nothing to do with it. He can't yell go, and you wait as a runner for him to yell, yes or no. That's where you've got to make a decision early on. A lot of it depends on where the third baseman's playing. If he's playing in, then you can get a little bigger lead. If he's playing over near the bag, you can't get off very far.
Now Corsino has fallen behind 2 balls and no strikes.
That's one of those plays where the third base coach goes over to the third base runner and says, hey, I'm a lowly coach. I'm not making very much money at all. You're in a players union. You're making big time money. You make the decision whether you want to run or not.
Line drive caught in right by Donald Lutz. A leadoff walk comes back to bite Corsino, along with an umpire not calling strike 3. On defense, presented by your Ford dealers. We've seen Coughlin in left the entire series. The same for Soler in right, as well as Valbuena and Baez. And Castillo has been behind the plate now 3 consecutive games. 3-night games. It's only the 4th time ever in the history of Wrigley Field where they have played a 3-game series where every game has been played under the lights. And it just so happens that the Reds have played in 2 of those 2 straight trips here to Chicago. Well, what a beautiful couple of days we have had here in the Windy City, right along the shores of Lake Michigan. Bright sunshine. Get out and move around a little bit on the lakefront. Figured I'd see you out there in your wetsuit, getting a few laps in Lake Michigan in.
It's a little chilly.
You know what? It's not bad. I went down and actually felt the water today.
Did you?
And I was expecting a lot worse. I know for sure that I have been in far colder water than it is right now. It took it a long while to get to even be just okay. That one up the third base line and a base hit for Tucker Barnhart. I mentioned a moment ago now, and I know, forgive me, many of you continue to write in. Jim Day, want to check in with you about Joey Votto. John Fay. Now, did you tell me just before the game today that John Fay from the Enquirer was tweeting out that it looked like the old Joey Votto today? Is that accurate?
It's very accurate. In BP, you know, it's only coming in 50, 60 miles per hour, and he should hit well in BP, but he did not look like a guy that's been on the DL for months. He was crushing the ball today and looked as if he was the Joey Votto of old. He was sprinting around the infield. He wasn't running the bases, but running basically in the grass right outside of the infield. The next step is to get the short bursts in, because you can't simulate game speed, so they want him to be able to, in the field, have to cross over and go to his right to get a ball, or if he's leading off first base, have to go back into first base really hard. So he hasn't done that yet.
Right.
As far as swinging the bat, man, he looked fabulous today.
Now, did you have a chance to catch up with him, or is he still, right now just kind of taking it day by day and not visiting with the media?
We did make the request, but mum is the word.
All right. I know that you'll be all over that story over the next 4 days in St. Louis. Seems pretty happy down there tonight.
Sure does.
A lot of smiling down there in Joey Votto in the dugout. Now Christopher Negron after a good bunt by Corsino to advance Barnhart to second, and he's carrying the tying run out there with the Cubs in front 2-1. Negron led off the game with a double off the left center field wall and scored on the ground out by Yorman Rodriguez. We've been talking about some of these teams and potentially a World Series matchup. The one team where the wheels are very shaky, if not having one of them fall off already, is Atlanta. Negron gone on strikes, 2 away in the inning. Braves have lost 5 in a row. They are now a game under 500. And they are trying to avoid getting swept by the Washington Nationals tonight. They trail 1-0.
Well, the really disturbing thing for the Braves is that they win at home, but they cannot win on the road. They are 8 games under 500 when they play on the road.
5.5 out of the wild card. Now, having said that, Atlanta does play against, was it the Pirates or the Brewers? We were talking about that last night. I can't remember which, but they play one of them in a series the early part of next week. Well, it has to be the Pirates, because the Brewers are going to be in Cincinnati the early part of next week. 4 against the Pirates it is for Atlanta starting Monday, so they'll have a shot. Fly ball to right. Reds leave a runner in scoring position and trail by a run after 2.5.
is Roberto Clemente Day in Major League Baseball, and one of my earliest memories, the first couple years at Riverfront Stadium, as you see him with this hit number 3,000. I was there as a diehard Reds fan, a very young kid. I remember seeing the Pirates, and I said to my dad and my family, man, who is number 21? Because he had those flailing legs going about. He had one of the strongest arms the game has ever seen, a terrific all-around player. And the numbers speak for themselves. 18 seasons, 15-time All-Star, an MVP, World Series MVP, won many Gold Gloves, batting titles. And I know you don't know when your time comes to leave this earth, but he left it with exactly 3,000 hits, and he died on a humanitarian effort, which was a major part of his life.
It was such a sad day all across the United States of America. There are still people who are so deeply saddened, those that follow the Pittsburgh Pirates in that city of Pittsburgh. And understandably so. Straight up in the air off the bat of Javier Baez. Leads off the Cubs third. Chicago a 2-1 lead.
You know, Tom Baez is the kind of guy that I'm talking about. You know, we talked about Rizzo. Rizzo's in the on-deck circle. Gets right on top of the plate. Tries to take away the inner part of the plate from the pitcher. Those that aren't feeling comfortable about coming in there. But Rizzo, I mean, Baez is in kind of more of a conventional spot in the batter's box. And it might be worth this guy just getting right up on the dish and just challenging those pitchers. It's kind of like the old Barry Bonds theory. Barry Bonds had a theory that there were 3 pitching lanes, one in, middle, and away. And by standing right on top of the plate with that arm gear that he had, he took the inside lane away. That's a pretty good lane right there on the outside corner by Corsino. 3 of them on the night for Daniel as he dials up this fastball for our flamethrower of the night, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. 91. Nothing wrong with that.
So one away in the inning, and now Anthony Rizzo, who struck out swinging his first time up. Rizzo returned to the lineup after missing 3 weeks. He tweaked his back when the Cubs were last in Cincinnati and did not play until the series opener. And of course, it turned out that Rizzo hit a game-ending home run leading off the bottom of the 9th inning in a 1-0 victory. He hit it off Pedro Villarreal.
Also tweaked it again on that home run swing because they gave him the night off last night against Johnny Cueto.
He is our IGS bringing the energy. Look what he's done his last 11 games against the Reds. 8 home runs and 10 runs batted in. Wow. 3-2 on Rizzo.
So you want to get that fastball in there on him, but that is a tough place for a right-handed pitcher to throw. And until right-handers really get that spot down, left-handers that are up on the dish will always give them some problems.
Second walk of the game issued by Corsino. So Laird drew the walk leading off the Chicago second inning. He went to third on a base hit by Valbuena. and then scored the first of 2 runs against Corsino in that inning on a single by Chris Voleka. One hand on the count, and Soler a big swing and a miss.
Got a little Vladimir Guerrero in him.
Ground ball left side in the hole. Negron, they'll get one, and that'll be the second out of the inning. We'll play for a chance to win $5.6 million with MLB.com's easy and free game. It's called Beat the Streak. Now I was talking to my son about this, and I've talked about how he is really dialed in on this game, and he was just devastated when I presented him with the idea that the regular season is coming to an end, and you're not going to be able to get to 56 straight games this year, even including the postseason. But he asked me a very interesting question, Chris, which I got to thinking, I wonder if you can carry a streak from this year into next year. So say you end the year on a 12, 14 game streak. Does that roll with you into 2015?
I'm not the guy to ask. I ought to know the answer to that, but I don't know.
Maybe Jim Day knows the answer to that question. I know that he is always playing Beat the Streak, as well as the head-to-head app. Jim, do you have any idea about the answer to that question so I can tell Luke yay or nay?
Sorry to let Lukey down. Even though I'm a baseball guy, I don't have the answer. I would think baseball does. Carries over streaks,
so you probably can. It's a great point. A real hitting streak, yes, you can. Did you just say you're a baseball guy?
I did.
The one guy you brought up in between innings, we were talking about teams in the World Series. Adam Dunn has never played in a World Series.
He's never played in the playoffs. I think he was the guy that with the distinction of most games played without a playoff appearance.
And he is now, of course, with the Oakland Athletics, and they are very much in the thick of that whole thing.
Get some Dunner in the World Series. How about Jared Nairn versus Dunn?
That's some good stuff. Two and two to count now on Valbuena. You know what would be interesting, though? You bring up the name Jerry Nairn, and, of course, former manager of the Reds, and his brother Johnny Nairn was with him during his tenure in Cincinnati and is with the Brewers now. Both of them on the coaching staff of Ron Renick as their strike 3 to Valbuena. But there's an interesting connection there that would be quite fascinating in a World Series matchup. Ohio.com. Even though the Bearcats have Ohio State on the schedule next weekend, they will not look past Miami this weekend. Check out where the Bengals rank in the latest NFL Power Rankings. And what is holding up the contract talks between Ryan Johansson and the Blue Jackets? I know you're wondering that. It's all at FoxSportsOhio.com. Reds are down a run. They come to bat here in the top of the 4th inning against Kyle Hendricks. Roman Rodriguez, Ryan Ludwig, Donald Lutz to start it. Rodriguez got his first major league run batted in. Came in the 1st inning on a ground out to shortstop, plating Christopher Negron. Reds have 2 base hits, a double by Negron leading off the game, and a single to start the 3rd by Tucker Barnhart. And they have a bouncer up the middle, a long throw, not going to get Rodriguez. They have a 3rd hit.
Ball sounded good coming off the bat of Norman Rodriguez right here. Looks like it hit the mound and really slowed down right there, or else that ball is already in the center field.
Rodriguez a big lead over there. And it's strike 1 to Ryan Ludwig. I mean, outside of Billy Hamilton, that is the largest lead we have seen by any Reds base runner so far this year. He's going to widen that thing a little more before all is said and done. Pirates are absolutely blasting off on Boston. The Reds are the only team Boston can beat.
They haven't beaten too many.
9-1 Pirates. That game's in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Boston in last place in that division, 19 games under 500.
Broken bat roller, Taylor made here. Baez will step on the bag and throw to first. We brought up at the beginning of the series that Baez is playing in place of the injured regular Cup shortstop Starlin Castro. Baez is a shortstop, has been his entire professional career. Now, when he first came up to the big leagues, they moved him over to second base when Castro was still in the lineup. And there are many that will tell you that follow this Cubs organization that Baez defensively is a superior defender than Castro. But then allegedly the best player they have in their minor league system, and the guy many felt like was one of the top 2 or 3 players in all of minor league baseball before the year began, in the Oakland organization, came over in the Jeff Samardzija trade. That's another shortstop. And there's a broken bat foul at the first base line. So, Chris, you know, we've seen Castro. We have not seen Baez much as a shortstop. And then you have another shortstop. How do you fix that problem?
Well, you know, Gene Bennett used to tell me that Branch Rickey used to say that you draft all the shortstops you can get. You sign every shortstop you can find. And when you get them, if one of them can hit, then you put them at shortstop. The rest of them, if they can hit, put them elsewhere, because they're usually the best athletes on the field. And maybe the Cubs are doing that same type of scouting.
Back up the middle into center field, a base hit by Lex.
I'll say hi to Gene Bennett back there in Wheelersburg, Ohio, watching every one of these Reds games.
What a guy.
Pulling the shade down on one more Red season. He has seen a whole bunch of those.
What a man. One of our all-time favorite guys.
They're going to write a book about Gene Bennett here not too long.
Really?
Yeah.
Who is?
A guy named Stephen Hayes is going to write that book. He's in the process now of interviewing all sorts of different people that have passed in and out of Gene's life. Get some background on Gene, and it'll be quite interesting. A legend in baseball.
Now Jack Hanahan, he bounced out to Voleka, his only time up, and this ball rifled, but right at the center fielder Kalish to end the inning. Reds get a couple of hits, leave a man. After 3.5, they trail by a run.
Sports Ohio. 1 year ago today, September 17, 2013, Brandon Phillips at second base in Houston didn't realize that the runner Jonathan Villar was coming to second, and this becomes, well, a pretty infamous slide. He was out. Brandon reacted to it earlier today.
It's still funny, and you never know, it might return one day. But you know, I mean, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I just made a great play to tag him out. If he just would have went feet first, it would have been a foot in my butt instead of a face and some neck in my butt.
And Todd Frazier, to this day, says it's the funniest thing he's ever seen on a baseball field, and made for some very interesting still shots 1 year ago today.
Remember like it was yesterday, Jim Day. I still can't understand for the life of me how that guy didn't see that tag coming. I mean, wouldn't you duck? Well, I would have ducked. Daniel Corsino to start at the bottom of the fourth inning. Castillo popped up his first time. Corsino working on a couple of strikeouts in the last inning. Walked the batter, struck out two. He's got 4 on the ball game.
So it remains 2-2 on Wellington Castillo. What are your impressions so far tonight, Chris, on Daniel Corsino?
Well, I mean, usually let the scoreboard do the talking. And right now he's done a pretty good job. Yeah, I like the movement on his fastball.
Yeah.
The one thing you're going to see from Corsino, though, is he gets better and he gets older and his delivery becomes more repeatable and so on, is that when he misses, sometimes he misses so far outside the zone that it never even looks like a strike to the hitter. So you're not going to get a lot of swings on those pitches that are off the plate like that. What a pitcher really wants is a guy to swing at a pitch that looks like a strike, ends up a ball, misses the sweet spot, and he makes an easy out. Johnny Cueto gets probably as many of those as anybody in baseball. And that's probably the next step for a young man like Corsino to take, to really get to the level where he can pitch a nice, efficient game in the major leagues. It's not like they're sitting back teeing off on him, so he's hiding the ball pretty well. He's got good enough movement. I really think that a lot of times nowadays you get so enamored with the radar gun that if a guy doesn't come out throwing 95 miles an hour out of AAA, he's a non-prospect.
You know, it's so interesting you say that because it is so true.
And maybe now more than ever.
There is no shred of doubt about that statement you made. None. When's the last time you heard, hey, we have this guy in the minor leagues, you know, that, boy, his command is sensational. He's got great movement. And then the very first question that's coming out of the next person's mouth is, well, how hard is he throwing? And they're waiting for you to give him a number.
And, you know, it really doesn't put much pressure on the scout to, you know, if the first thing they want to know is how hard he throws. I mean, you know, you pack a radar gun to their game and you write down the tops of his fastball and what his breaking ball is and so on. And sometimes what gets lost in it is the pitchability of a pitcher and how his breaking ball works and how receptive he is. And I think that I keep going back all the time. We talk about it from time to time. What a great job the Reds did when they scouted and signed Mike Leake right out of Arizona State University and sent him right to the major leagues. I mean, he was nowhere near the hardest thrower in that draft, still available. But he's got more starts than anybody taken in that draft, including the #1 guy taken that year. That was Steven Strasburg.
Well, he takes care of Kalish, and that is his first perfect inning of the night. We go to the 5th, 2-1 Chicago. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by JTM Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. By Toyota, for over 30 Toyota offers. Visit buyatoyota.com and enjoy Boneless Thursdays at B-Dubs. Specially priced boneless wings all day. Buffalo Wild Wings, Wings Beer Sports. Most popular way to follow the September pennant races this last week and a half. MLB.com at bat. Check it out at MLB.com. We were talking about our statistician here last night, Ethan Cooperson, and Now, Chris, he'll be on his way. I was just thinking about that B-Dubs Thursday night. That's a good spot to go in and watch football games or baseball games or college basketball, whatever it is that is your favorite. And he'll be down there doing that tired game. What is that game? Falcons Buccaneers tomorrow night. With Jim Nantz and Phil Simms. Ground ball to the second baseman, and it's out number 1 in the inning.
So I'm kind of stuck here in almost an entire NFL booth. You right in the middle, right in the beginning of your big NFL season.
Yeah.
Statistician Ethan Cooperson. Same way there.
Yeah.
Lucky we're still talking about a little round
Boy,
ball.
the Bengalis are looking good.
Boy, they are.
They're looking really good. Really good. I mean, they basically played with a bunch of their main men just sitting and watching. And they complete thorough in every way, shape, and form. Dominated the Falcons the other day. 2-0 on Tucker Barnhart. Swinging a foul ball back out of play. I tell you that story, with all the terrible stories there are out there in football right now, and look, you can't turn on the TV without hearing about them. But I got to tell you, on the other end of the spectrum is that incredible story about that young man who plays for the Bengals, Devon Still. There's a pop-up in the shallow right field, and that's a second out of the inning. The amount of attention Bengal fans, Cincinnati fans, not even sports fans across America. And for those of you that don't know the story, he's a young Bengals player. His daughter has terminal 4 cancer. They're giving her a 50% chance to make it. And she's at the #1 children's hospital in the world for pediatric cancer, Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And everybody is praying for that little girl. It's been an incredible story. 2-1 ball game after 4.5 coming.
Ohio. I'm Jim Day. As many of you know, in Reds history, Johnny Bench had the flair for the dramatic home run. And let's take you back another day in Reds history, September 17th, 1983. It was Johnny Bench night, honoring the career of the greatest catcher of all time. His parents on hand, and wouldn't you know, John Bench, number 5, would hit a home run on Johnny Bench night. It was the final home run of his illustrious career, number 389. What a moment that was at Riverfront Stadium, Tom and Chris.
Well, you're not lying. You talk to Johnny Bench about that night even now, and there are tears that will roll down his cheeks just remembering that night.
You know, the night before that happened, there was also a big night for Johnny Bench, because after the game, and you probably don't remember the show, but there used to be a show called This Is Your Life, hosted by Ralph Edwards, where they would surprise a guest, a celebrity, and they'd bring in people from his past, his family, and so on would show up, and people he hadn't seen in a long time. Well, they did that to Johnny Bench on the 16th of September.
Really?
And then he had that big going-away party that he hosted himself with that home run on the 17th.
So, I mean, you remember any of the people that they brought in for
Well,
that?
I know his mom and dad were there, but I don't know any more about that.
Gotcha. So now Chris Coghlan with 1 out. Corsino has allowed 3 base hits, and all of them came in the inning where the Cubs scored their 2 runs against him. Ever since, that ball is lined into right field and caught by Donald Lutz. That ball hit right on the screws. That's 2 of those tonight by Coghlan, right at Donald Lutz. You can go inside Cincinnati Athletics tomorrow night. Bearcat Sports Weekly with Tommy Tuberville. Look ahead of the game over the weekend against Miami of Ohio. It's all Thursday at 6, presented by your Tri-State Chevy dealers.
You know, Tom, I got to correct myself. It was not the night before Johnny Bench retired. It was earlier, but it was on the 16th of September. That's what threw me. But this time of year for Johnny Bench, very important. Kind of fun. Interesting line there. A 167 batting average, 9 home runs.
And another strikeout. Corsino has retired 8 in a row. He looks pretty good tonight. The Reds Connect Zone offers free Wi-Fi access, charging stations, portable batteries for mobile devices. 27 screens of game coverage, tweets, Instagram, you name it. And it's presented by our friends from Miami of Ohio University. All right, Reds down a run, and they have the top of the order against Kyle Hendricks here in the 6th inning. Reds scored their only run in the first on a double by Negron. A bunt got him to third, a ground out scored him. Shows bunt, steal right one.
You know, if you've been watching Kyle Hendricks, you'll say, well, his stuff is very similar to Daniel Corsino. Maybe not the same movement on the fastball, but certainly not an overpowering pitcher. A guy that won the minor league pitcher of the year award last year. That got Negron barely, and he'll take first base.
That's a good way to get it started.
If you win the minor league pitcher of the year award in the organization, you're not an especially hard thrower. You come up here, all of a sudden you run off a pretty good record of 6 wins and 2 losses. He's pitched on the right night. It seems like every time he pitches, the Cubs go out and score him a bunch of runs. Tonight, the oddball about that one. He made his major league debut at Great American Ballpark. So you have both of these pitchers who have made their major league debuts against the teams they're pitching against tonight. He was drafted twice. Hendricks was. Once out of high school. He's from San Juan Capistrano, California. He did not sign. He ended up going all the way across the country to an Ivy League school. And got drafted out of Dartmouth by the Texas Rangers in 2011. You ever been to San Juan Capistrano?
I have a number of times.
You know the story about the miracle of San Juan, the swallows of
Yes.
San Juan? Incredible story. And for those who don't know it, every March 19th, right on that day, the swallows will show up every year the same day. And as soon as the crack of dawn comes, here they come, and they'll build their little mud nests. And they will roost there all summer long in the ruins of the old San Juan church that was, the top of it was demolished off during the earthquake of 1812. And then on the same day every year, October 23rd, the day of San Juan, those birds will fly away and return the next March.
It's incredible. It's incredible. You know, for people who have never been to California, or maybe you've been out there and all you've done is maybe fly into an airport and rent a car, whatever it is, one of the great stops on the train that goes from Los Angeles to San Diego, or vice versa, is in San Juan, Capistrano. And, I mean, beautiful, sits right on the ocean. And I would highly recommend anybody.
What do they call that? Is that the beach cruiser that they call it?
I don't know. I don't know what it's called. I've been on it a number of times. I have no idea what it's called. But it's awesome.
Sure beats the heck out of riding. What is that, I-5 that goes between San Diego and L.A.?
Especially at the wrong time of day.
When is the right time of day? About 4
Well,
a.m.?
early in the morning, weekend. After 7 o'clock on a weekend, Saturday or Sunday, you're in big trouble, middle of the day. And then, of course, rush hour. During the week, forget it.
Of course, half that ride is Camp Pendleton.
Yes, it is.
Big Marine base.
One answer to count on Santiago. Negron at first base, pulled the string on him there. That is the 4th strikeout for Hendricks. Hendricks made his major league debut against Cincinnati. He gave up, if I recall, 3 runs in the first inning.
3 runs in the first inning and 4 runs overall, pitched 6 innings. But if you take away the first start, July the 10th, you take away the last start he had on September the 10th at the Blue Jays, his earned run average is really tight. 6-1. Other than that, he has been very, very impressive. Not too many pitchers out of Dartmouth. There's one in the stands tonight, scouting for the Blue Jays. A teammate of mine, Jim Beattie, who was also a general manager with the Montreal Expos.
Did he get another chance with Baltimore?
Yeah, he was in Baltimore. There's Beats. We call him Bussy because of his exploits as a bus driver one time in the minor leagues.
He drove the team bus?
Well, yeah. He drove us from where we were staying in Tidewater area out to Virginia Beach.
Oh, yeah.
And we borrowed the bus that night.
Oh.
We conned
talking about a little different ride.
Yeah, we conned the hotel manager into giving us the key to the bus. But we left something in the bus. We brought it back.
That sounds like a fun bus ride. Potentially.
A lot more happened that night, but we won't visit it all right here.
You sure?
But he was the Bussy. Good baseball guy.
Yes, he has been around a long time, no question.
Pretty good pitcher. And you wonder why, okay, so why is he here? I mean, the Cubs and the Reds, these teams aren't going anywhere. He will be heading out to San Francisco this weekend to start following some of those teams. But that's what these young players really ought to always understand. That, you know, if you think you're blocked, say you're a first baseman in the Reds organization, and you're blocked, and you have nowhere else to play. Well, there are scouts in the stands looking at you. There are a lot of other teams out there. And they're watching every at-bat, they're watching every swing, they're watching how you take the field, whether you hustle or not, whether they look like you're into the game or not into the game.
And that one's shot into right field, a base hit by Rodriguez. That's a nice piece of hitting right there.
Really nice swing by Rodriguez. He hit a bolt right back up the middle for a base hit. And he kind of waited on this. He had a 2-2 count. And a little breaking ball right there, a little inside-out swing, and just takes it the other way. Good for him.
The Reds' 5th hit of the night, and it is the first one that has come with a runner on base. So now you're at first and second with 1 out in the inning. Ludwig, the batter, he bounced into a double play his last time, up 0 for 2 tonight. Reds down a run, trying to change that right here and right now. Over foul. 2-1 on Ryan Ludwig. Sure, this has been a very disappointing season for Ryan Ludwig. Very proud man who's had a really good career. Oftentimes people forget that Ludwig spent so long in the minor leagues before he ever even had the chance to play regularly at the major league level. Now he's turned that into a lengthy major league career, but he bounced around due to injuries. 3 different franchises before he had a chance to play in the big leagues. And then even after that, a chance to play regularly in the big leagues. This has been a rough year. Going the second 3-ball count in the game tonight by Hendricks, and this is his second double. Oh, it's booted by Baez, and he still gets it out at first base. I mean, double play written all over it. So the Reds get an extra out in this inning.
Well, if there is such thing as the DP lane, there it is, and he just tried to shovel that ball off before he had it. It's pretty heads-up play by Baez, though, to stay on that ball and still showed a good arm to get a man at first base, so he saves the error. But the Reds have 2 in scoring position.
And it's a batter who has 1 hit and 2 at bats. That's Donald Lutz. He struck out and singled into center field. This guy's been a ground ball machine here tonight. He's recorded 9 outs via the ground ball. Should have been 10 on a double play ball right there. Straight up in the air. Is it playable? Yes! Castillo makes the play. And that will end the inning. He stayed with it. It's not an easy play. Weekend Central Division showdown that is. And then over on Fox Sports 1, the Cardinals and the Reds. Action begins at 12:30 Eastern on Fox, continues at 7 Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Daniel Corsino working into the 6th inning. He has only allowed 3 base hits. He's clearly gotten better and stronger as this game has moved on. Both runs, all 3 hits he allowed came in 1 inning. That was his 2nd inning. And, you know, you go back and look at that inning. It began with a walk and then a single. They were on the corners with nobody out. He got Wellington Castillo to pop up for the first out of the inning. And had 2 strikes on Chris Valaika, and clearly he threw a pitch that should have been called strike 3. It wasn't. On the very next pitch, Valaika banged a single. Next batter doubled, and only 2 runs against him. 3-1 on Rizzo, who has struck out and walked. Score, Milwaukee and St. Louis. That game in the bottom of the 5th inning. Pirates, as we mentioned, all over the Boston Red Sox team. There's a leadoff walk to Rizzo.
You know, last night, Tom, in the 7th inning, Jorge Soler hits a home run in the left center field. And the gentleman that went after this ball and ended up with the ball ended up losing his ring. You see that just dropped? That was his wedding ring. And he just realizes, wait, I got the ball, but I lost my ring. And there it is on the warning track. Looking around, and he finally spots it. Later on in the game, it has a happy ending. Grounds crew came out and they retrieved the ring, and he got his ring back and the home run ball. Wow. All in a night at Wrigley Field in the bleachers.
So you can see how bummed out he was immediately as soon as he realized what had happened. That's great he got it back. I remember I was out years ago on the beach one day playing frisbee or something, or catch with my kids, and then all of a sudden the next thing I know, ring comes off. So I hire some dude, you know, one of those guys that walks around, you know, with the metal detector thing, right?
The headphones.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. My wife said to me, she said, you can mark it down. He had found that thing by the time you contacted him. Not going to get it back.
He probably has a whole shop back of his trunk.
Right.
What size you need? What initials do you want on the inside?
He's got a good one. Or maybe it's just buried in the sand. I don't know. 2-0 on Soler. Now all of a sudden Corsino starting to lose his way to begin this 6th inning. He had retired the last 8 batters he had faced. The last come to reach was a walk to Rizzo in the 3rd. He retired 11 of 12 since the last hit against him. That was a double by Kalish in the 2-run 2nd inning. Came back with another strike. 2-2 on Jorge Soler. He walked and scored in the 2nd inning, bounced into a fielder's choice in the 3rd. Two to the Cub right fielder. Corsino knocks him down, has time to get an out, and he'll take the one at first. Nice play by the Reds pitcher. That ball's hit hard.
Tell you what, he's got a lot of mound presence. Corsino does. I mean, a lot of times you see a young pitcher and you grab that ball and you come up throwing as hard as you can. You throw it wild. Everybody's running around the bases. Good job.
We'd love to see him finish strong here in this inning. He's got a runner at 2nd. He's down a run, 1 out. Valbuena, the batter, is single to right, scored a run and struck out. Reds have action in their bullpen. Straight up in the air, and this should be the 2nd out. Negron the call, Negron the catch. Fans, you can guarantee the opportunity to buy 2015 All-Star Game tickets by becoming a Red season ticket holder, with plans starting under $9 a seat. For more information, call 513-765-7500 or visit Reds.com/2015. That was by far the most frequently asked question, even last year, after it had been announced that the Reds were getting the All-Star Game to Phil Castellini. He and I are always together for whatever reason on every caravan, and that's what everybody wanted to know. All-Star game. How can I get tickets?
That's a pretty good deal. So I think that 20-pack, isn't that what that is?
Now, I don't know, because I don't want to mislead anybody
Yeah.
here. I'm not sure what kind of season ticket package you have to buy to then have the right to buy tickets to the All-Star game.
I'm pretty certain you don't have to buy every game.
I think you're right on that.
That there are some flexible, different types of season ticket plans, and there's a ton of different ones.
Yes,
I mean,
there
really
are.
to fit your schedule, to fit your budget. But a lot of those will allow you to buy an All-Star game ticket or tickets.
Yeah, I mean, they have plans if you can only come on the weekends. They've got that plan if you only like coming during the week. They've got, X number of game packages, like you mentioned, 20-game pack, and many, many others. And as we mentioned, they have them lowest starting is under $9 a seat. It's the best bargain in sports at Great American Ballpark. Anyway, got the Kroger meal deal going on out there. You can get for $9 at the ballpark. Breaking ball low, 2-2 on Wellington Castillo.
Got the craft beer bar.
Here. Got Skyline. Ooh, Doc. Be loading up tomorrow afternoon.
Why don't you take some with you this weekend?
To Phoenix?
Yeah.
I don't know how well that would. Obviously, they have it. They have it in grocery stores out there.
They sure do.
Because Kroger owns a big chain out
Fry's.
there. Fry's. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe we'll pick some up and fire it up for the boys. Our production meeting on Saturday night.
They will
Phoenix,
never forget you
Arizona.
if you do that.
I believe that. 3-2 on Wellington Castillo. Corsino trying to get this final out in the 6th inning. And he walked. To him a 3-2 breaking ball of some kind. It was nowhere close to the zone. And now Brian Price going to walk up the dugout steps. Corsino at 101 pitches. And that's going to do it. But all in all, you'd have to say once again, this young man threw the ball well tonight.
Probably disappointed that he didn't get through this inning, but I think if he looks back on the whole body of work, you got to be pretty happy with what he did tonight.
He allowed 3 hits and 2 runs in the 2nd inning. Those are the only hits and runs he allowed in the game. But 2 walks here in the inning will give him the hook. Speaking of Skyline, Skyline Chili called the bullpen. Pedro Villarreal coming on. Game. Let's take a look at it. Big thank you very much out by the Tall Stacks out in right center field. A great American ballpark.
Well, the line on Daniel Corsino, the 4 walks, he'd like to undo maybe a couple of those. The one ran him right out of the inning here and out of the ball game as Brian Price makes the change and Pedro Villarreal comes in. Pedro now 26 years old from Seagoville High School in Seagoville, Texas.
Ground ball just like that. He'll get the final out. One pitch. Well done, Pedro. Reds are trailing by a run. They come to bat in the 7th. On to game summary. Reds were shut out the first 2 games of this series, but the first batter of the night in this one, Negron with a double. A bunt got him a third. And the first major league RBI by Yorman Rodriguez scored in 1-0 Reds. Stay that way till the 2nd inning. Walk, a single. 1-out single by Maleka to tie the game. Very next batter, Ryan Kalish, drove one into the ivy in left center field. Those would be the only 2 runs and the only 3 hits allowed by Daniel Corsino tonight. And you are up to date as we go to the 7th inning. It is a 2-1 Chicago lead. Anaheim, Elmore, Barnhart. Bounced to second at the ball very sharply as last time up. Hooks this one to the right side. So he lined out to center as last time, and now ground ball to second here. 0 for 3 in the game.
Well, this comes under the category of you never know who's watching. There's a man watching down in Satellite Beach, Florida today. He's a huge Reds fan. He never misses a game. A little under the weather. But still in all, it is his 71st birthday. We want to wish Tom Godel happy birthday.
Thomas, happy birthday. There's a base hit by Elmore.
Tom's brother-in-law, Mike Donahue, contacted John Fay and said, hey, he's very sick. We hope he gets better, but it would make his day if we wished him happy birthday because he never misses a Reds game on Fox Sports Ohio. So Tom, spread the word down there in Satellite Beach.
And we hope you feel better.
We sure do.
Thoughts and prayers were with you, and You know what? I hope you're right. If we were able to help make his day a little bit better, then that is awesome. Doesn't get much better than that. And there's a bunt by Barnard, and a throw. Still no! Unable to hang on to the ball is Rizzo. That looked like a dazzling play by Valbuena. And now the Reds have 2 on with 1 out in the inning.
It's a good bunt by Tucker right here. You're moving the runner over. You're trying to also get a base hit right there, but Valbuena comes in and nearly makes a stupendous play. I'm not sure if they're going to get him anyway. It's going to be very close at first base. Pretty good stretch by Rizzo. He's shown himself to be a good glove man. So Chris Bosio now will hustle out to the mound and have a little conference out there.
And Rizzo walked right over to Valbuena and saying, that's my fault. Should have had it. Well, coming up tonight, and after every Reds game, we'll break it all down for you on Reds Live. Jeff Piccoro, Jim Day, Brian Giesenslaw, Chris Welsh and company. Reds Live brought to you by Performance Kings Honda.
You know, another big night tonight. 54th wedding anniversary.
Well, I like these.
Very good friend of ours, John and Sue Piccoro, Jeff's mom and dad. Wow. Dr. John and Sue, well, happy wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary. Wow. 54.
That is incredible.
Sure is.
Good for you guys. And as always, our sarcastic producer Josh Hall said he understands that's the gift that Jeff Piccoro got for his mom and dad on their 54th wedding anniversary. Was having you wish them one. Oh, he got a pitch hit right there. Fouled it back to Brian Pena, batting for Villarreal. Chance to tie it up, maybe take the lead. Pena didn't like that call. He didn't like a couple calls in the game last night. That's exactly the same spot where Corsino's pitch was to Valleca back in the second inning. High fly ball, short right field. Everybody's going to stay put. 2 away in the inning.
I really never got anything good to hit after that first pitch he fouled off. Let's take a look at this at bat with Brian Pena. A Mazda pitch by pitch. It was a quick one. All strikes from Hendricks. There's a little changeup right there, and he's going to stay with the off-speed stuff throughout the at-bat. That one goes for a strike and foul straight back. That one was a breaking ball, maybe a curveball that Pena did not like, and out in front of that breaking ball. So they respect the fact that Brian is a fastball hitter. Don't give him a fastball. Or Mazda pitch by pitch.
Now it's Christopher Negron. And that ball is kissed into left field. And Negron just missed it one. Caught against the wall by Coughlin. And that'll end the inning. Thought the Reds had one there. They're down by a run.
to America's new sports network. Fox Sports 1 is your new home for baseball's National League Division and Championship Series. And it all begins in October. I'm Jim Day. Christopher Negron nearly put the Reds in front in this game. And I asked him before today's game, I said, how do you like Wrigley Field? And he said, kind of sarcastically, I can't stand this place. A couple of nights ago, he had two bombs that were really robbed by the wind pushing them back. And then this one goes to the wall, but he jokingly said as he left me, I guess I got to get back in the weight room.
Boy, that ball is really hit hard. Dude, that was the one thing you brought up earlier about Negron as we get a look at Manny Palmer now coming into the game. I am stunned by the pop we have seen in his bat. Maybe I shouldn't be. I mean, but we've never seen him play at all at the big league level. You see a guy in spring training, but there's some suck in that bat.
And it's not only left field pop. A lot of guys have pull pop, meaning that if they pull the ball, they can hit it out of the ballpark. But we've seen, his first home run was a right center field shot. He's got bat speed, and he's got good foot speed too. I've been very impressed with Negron.
He really had a good spring. He does all the things. He's one of those kind of guys that when you talk to people that are familiar, really familiar, and gets a chance to see the various teams in the Reds organization, has had his little flare into shallow center. Look who went out and got it, Negron.
Right on cue.
You're starting to finish the sentence. People who have seen him play regularly in the minor leagues will tell you that he may not be the most talented guy on his team, and he may not be the guy, if you come in and watch him in a 3-game series, that'll really catch your eye. But he's a kind of guy that the more and more and more you watch him, the more and more and more you realize what a solid player he is. Now, there's a difference in talent level, but I recall many of those same people saying the exact same thing about Todd Frazier. Saying there might be a guy on his team at AA that's better. There might be a guy on his team that's AAA that was better. But over the course of the year, he would be the guy you'd pick to be on your team. Mike Holt now the batter. So the night is over for Kyle Hendricks. Allows 1 run. It came in the first inning. Reds have 6 hits against him. He only walked 1 batter and fanned 4. They have Mr. Stroke getting ready in the bullpen. If you are wondering, the fewest runs the Reds have ever scored in a 3-game series at Wrigley Field, and you're talking about 100 years, it's 2 runs. And that was in September of 1928. They have 1 run so far in this year. Sharply hit, but guarding the line is Santiago. Strong. Good. And I stand corrected about Kendricks. He did not walk a batter. He hit a batter tonight.
You've really got an infield full of utility players out there if you want to look at it like that. Every one of these players can play around the infield. Anaheim more of a first baseman, third baseman. But Santiago can play anywhere. Negron has played everywhere, and same with Jake Elmore.
Coghlan 0 for 3 with a pair of rockets. Donald Lutz out in right field.
You never really know how important your extra guys are until one of your regulars is injured and out of the lineup for an extended period of time, like Brandon Phillips was. And Brian Price really was using a really kind of a piecemeal way to patch that. Skip Schumacher, we find out now, they never really did feel better after dislocating his shoulder in spring training. He played all year long anyway. He was in there at second base a little bit. Negron played a little bit at second base. Santiago was there at second base.
Backhanding to his right is Elmore, and a solid, perfect inning by Manny Palmer.
So they all got a chance to make a play.
Start of every game with Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing, on your exclusive home for Reds baseball, Fox Sports Ohio. All right, a day off tomorrow. And the pitching matchups in St. Louis: Lackey, Waka, Lynn for the Cardinals, Holmberg, Leak, and Alfredo for the Reds. Boy, Holmberg, here's a guy who's had a couple of back-to-back outstanding outings. One of them out of the bullpen, and the other as a starter. Alfredo pitched really well here in the opening game of this series. A no decision, 7 innings, 5 hits, no runs. Pedro Strop takes over on the mound. Ramon Santiago is 0 for 2 tonight. Be followed by Yorman Rodriguez. Rodriguez has a couple of hits tonight. And then Ryan Levin.
This is the part of the bullpen that the Chicago Cubs are quite impressed with. Matt Caesar takes over in center field. Strop right now the 8th inning guy, and Rondon the 9th inning guy, but both have very good arms, as well as Neil Ramirez down there. We saw him last night. We saw him the first night.
We only saw one guy last night.
He was enough.
Yes, he was. Jake Arrieta with a complete game, 1-hit shutout. Swing and a miss by Santiago. On the way here in the Reds' 8th inning. Well, the Columbus Blue Jackets are cranking it up. They had media day opening their training camp today in Columbus. Stay up to date. Get ready with FoxSportsOhio.com's Rick Geffen on Twitter. Season opener October 9th. 2 days later, the home opener October 11th against the Rangers from New York. Another swing and a miss, and that's back-to-back Ks for Strop. Ryan Ludwig 2 down. And nobody on. Reds down to their final 4 outs of the night. Stroke ready, and the 0-1 is under the knees outside. 1 ball and 1 strike there in the top of the 7th inning. In St. Louis, no score. Well, that has been a pitching dominated first 2 games of that series. 3-2 in extra innings last night. Milwaukee, nothing tonight. And now a final in from Pittsburgh. Waiting to make sure maybe somebody's just looking through that hole out there in the scoreboard in the top of the 9th inning. Looks like they're getting ready to put up a final out there. It's 9-1. Favor the Pirates. So they had a game and a half lead over the Brewers for the second wild card spot, and now it is a final. The Brewers need to win that game to stay within 1.5. Giants won their game earlier today. Boy, there are some big series coming up around Major League Baseball when they sent Houston over to the American League. There's always going to be a team in every division that is not playing inside its division in September. We've documented that. But it's interesting how it works out this year with the Pirates playing the Atlanta Braves after playing the Brewers this coming weekend. There's a 1-hopper down to third. That's a fair ball. Throw in the dirt. Nice pick over there by Rizzo. And a 1-2-3-8 for Stroke. Cubs 2, Reds 1.
By authority of the Cincinnati Reds, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Take a look at our DirecTV best records in the National League, and of course, a team that finishes with the best record gets home field advantage however long that team is in the playoff. And that's inside their league. World Series home field advantage already been determined by the winner of the All-Star game. That'll be in the American League. But Washington losing tonight to Atlanta. So the Braves rally late 3-1 in that one. And the Dodgers got hammered today out in Colorado. Jumbo Diaz takes over on the mound for the Reds. Fourth pitcher behind Corsino, Villarreal, and Parra.
Yeah, the only 2 times that the Cubs have scored came in the second inning off of Daniel Corsino. Other than that, Reds pitching has been outstanding.
That is a fair ball. Right on the line. And how is Javier Baez standing at first base? That ball was seemingly in the air forever down the right field line. Nice play by Lutz to come over and get that thing.
He was running down the line. I'm not really sure. I just think that Lutz got to this ball, and he was about halfway to second base. That's why Lutz decided to go back and try to throw behind the runner. A little late getting out of the box, but it looked like he was dogging it down the line.
All right, good play.
Category comes under good D.
We haven't seen Baez enough to know if that's an all-out sprint. It certainly didn't appear to be that. Jumbo coming inside on Rizzo there to get ahead 0-2. Rizzo's 0 for 1, has struck out and walked twice.
Now that's 2 consecutive pitches he's come inside on. He's one right-hander not afraid to get right in that kitchen.
And 2 to count on Rizzo. Jam shot again. And this one will drift out of play. I mean, that is 3 in a row. Jumbo Diaz is getting right in the kitchen of Mr. Rizzo. Look at that little guy. He got that ball right off the top. Telling Mom. He's looking around for anybody else to tell. Anybody. Guy behind him giving him a full scouting report. Slow bouncer here. They get the out at second base. And that's all. One away in the inning.
It's a nice play there by Elmore and Chris Negron, because that ball was very slowly hit. Took a long time to develop that play, but you're still going to try to get the lead runner anytime you can. That ball at second base, I mean, the runner goes by. He's got to do a complete turn and a quick tag at second with the foot.
Soler is 0 for 2. Hit the ball very hard his last time up. That was one that Corsino knocked down. And didn't panic. Picked the ball up and threw out Soler at first base. He's bounced into a fielder's choice. He walked and scored a run. You know, that single a minute ago by Baez was the only Cub hit in this game outside of that 2-run, 3-hit second inning. They had a single by Valbuena, RBI hits by Valleca and Kalish. They do not have another hit until the single off the end of the bat, that bleeder by Baez. Yet the Cubs have a 2-1 lead. We saw that little kid a minute ago catch that foul ball off the top of the bricks over there. You know, I know a lot of people around Chicago, and especially a lot of people around here at Wrigley Field. And in between innings. I was told that Jim Day actually got a baseball for a fan sitting down there by you beyond the Reds dugout. Jim Day, is that true or false?
We got a World War II vet down here. He's got his hat on, USS Saratoga. He brought his glove to the game, and he has been trying like crazy to get a ball all night long to no avail. And I usually don't do it, but I said, Billy Hatcher, help me out with the ball. Even though he's got a Cubs jersey on, he's a Cubs fan, he earned that baseball in my mind.
You better believe that. We just saw a shot of it, so we saw him sitting right by you over there.
So I got him one. And
that's a big league move by you there, Jim Day.
Shook my hand. He said, I just want to thank you, young man. I said, I want to thank you. It's more of a pleasure for me to meet you than the other way around.
Well, you can tell he's into the game now. It's a one-run ball game. He's dialed in. And that is ball 4. So Diaz is allowed a single and a walk. Two on, Cubs leading 2-1. Saw that fella's hat down there, the USS Saratoga, CV-60. That's the updated version of that battleship. And line into left field, and that'll fall in a base hit, and that's a big run to make it a 2-run spread, and the runner is out at second base. Huge out for the Reds. But 3-1 on the single by Valbuena. That went Ludwig to Negron to Elmore.
Valbuena trying to take the most of his playing time. Left-handed hitting third baseman lines it into the left field right there, and Rizzo will come around and score easily. I'm a little surprised that Valbuena decided to go into second base right here. Maybe he thought that relay was going to go right into third. But he's a dead duck.
The second Cub thrown out at second base tonight. Swing and a miss by Wellington Castillo. It goes to show you when you walk batters how bad things can happen. A leadoff walk in the second inning led the way for the Cubs, scoring a couple of times, and then with 1 on and 1 out here in the 8th inning, it was a key walk to Soler by Jumbo Diaz in front of the RBI single. And there's strike 3 to win the inning. But a tack-on run for Chicago. Reds are down 2 as they bat in the 9th. Reds are at home September the 26th through the 28th. They'll take on the Pirates. That's the final weekend of the season. Friday, we got the big fireworks show presented by Box Tops for Education and Kroger. 513-351-REDS for tickets. Now, the Reds will be home at the beginning of next week. They're off on Monday. They play the Brewers night games on Tuesday and Wednesday, day game Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday with the Pirates in town. And now the Cubs are going to hand the ball to their closer, Hector Rondon.
You know, being a rebuilding ball club for several years has its advantages. If you take advantage of every opportunity that's out there, you know, you trade away major league players, you get prospects in return. You're really bad, so you draft early in the draft, and you get some pretty good picks, and you can afford to keep a Rule 5 draftee around, and that's exactly where they got Hector Rondon a couple of years ago. Rule 5 draft from the Cleveland Indians. Indians signed him out of Venezuela. He is now 26 years old, and he has settled right in to be the closer here with 24 saves this season.
Lutz to lead things off here in the Reds' ninth, trailing by 2 after Chicago gets a run in the bottom of the 8th inning. We brought up earlier the fewest number of runs in a 3-game series the Cincinnati Reds have ever played in this ballpark. Wrigley Field, over 100 years. The fewest number of runs they've ever scored in a 3-game series is 2. That was in September of 1928. They have scored 1 run in the first 2 games and 8 innings. Rondon with some serious giddy up on that fastball, 96 miles per hour. Daniel Corsino, a solid effort tonight. Pitching into the 6th inning, allowed 3 hits and 2 runs. All 3 hits and both runs came in the 2nd inning. But now the Reds have 1 out in the 9th, trailing by 2 on the ground ball to second base. You know, the Cubs are going to be a very interesting team moving forward. Naturally, there's plenty of reason for optimism when you see some of the young players, which really this franchise has never been known as producing. I mean, they have never, ever been known as an organization. I shouldn't say never. Before the advent, really, of free agency, it seems like they've not produced a lot of homegrown talent to come up through their system. Some of their greatest stars in recent years are guys that came from somewhere else. Mark Grace would be an exception to that.
Brian Sandberg.
Well, he was originally a Philly, that's
yeah,
right. Sammy Sosa
yeah.
came from the White Sox, and there were others. But, you know, it's like we were talking last week with Buck Showalter a couple of weeks ago. We were in Baltimore. You know, it's one thing to have guys come in and do it when you're not expecting them to do it. Now, I don't know realistically what the Cubs' expectations are going to be next year, because they're going to do some things in free agency, I would assume. They have some money to spend. But the expectation level is certainly going to be higher than it was going into this year. But that's where you find out about guys like Stroh and Rondon and some of these guys that have been pitching on a bad team. Not a terrible team, but a bad team this year. But where are you now all of a sudden when you're expected to be better or be good? And that's what Buck Showalter was pointing out with his bullpen. He said, our bullpen's having a great year because we have a bunch of guys that nobody expected to do anything. Now, moving forward, we're going to be expecting them to do it in the playoffs and expecting them to do that next season.
in the case of Rondon, this is his third time in the major leagues. He was in the major leagues at age 25 in 2013. Then this year he's 26. So when you get to be 27 years old, now you're reaching your baseball player age peak. So a year like this year has been just so valuable to him. There's Theo Epstein.
You know, you look at some of the names that come to mind. I mean, guys that we heard just as much about as we have with Baez and Soler. Corey Patterson. Remember what a big prospect he was? Felix P.A. Kevin Ory. These are guys they were thinking were going to be monsters. Ball four, so the tying run will come to the plate. But you have to, at least, as you pointed out earlier, Chris, and you made the point of the night when you're talking about rebuilding your team, you cannot be afraid to trade players that you might have an emotional attachment to, that you might like a lot as a guy, that is giving you a lot of really good years. But if you either think you can't sign him or you don't want to sign him, your baseball people have to be able to evaluate other organizations and their players in the minor leagues to start building something new and fresh.
Well, when you're trading away good players, you have a chance to get good prospects in return. If you're trading away secondary players and average players, that's what you're going to get back. I mean, the market finds its level. And rarely do you steal a player here or there. I mean, Rondon is a guy, well, if Rule 5 draftee, you may say, well, he stole him. But you've got to have a roster spot for a guy like that. His earned run average last year, he was in 45 games last year. That was the year they got him out of the Rule 5 draft, had to keep him in the big leagues all year long. It was close to 5 last year. This year, it's 2.6. So you have to have the ability also to kind of rebuild for a year. And tell your fans, hey, hang in there. Of course, they're going to be doing a lot of rebuilding here at Wrigley Field. The Cubs with their ball club. You mentioned they may go into free agency. They probably will. They've got money to spend, as you said. They're also going to be doing a lot to the ballpark itself. It's going to be a different looking park when we come back here next year.
Hamilton slaps one into left field, and it hangs up long enough for Coughlin to get it. The Reds are going to get final out of the night. Jay Bruce is going to pinch hit for Tucker Barnhart. Well, we talked about the Reds' dominance against the Chicago Cubs team when this series began. They had won 60 of the last 80 games against the Cubs. 25-12 over the last 2 years. 37-16 over the last 3 years. You've got to go back to 2009 in July, the last time the Reds were swept in this ballpark. Since being swept, they've won a pile of games against Chicago. And this ought to finish them off. The Reds set an all-time record for fewest number of runs in a 3-game series at Wrigley Field. 1 in 3 games. And they fall tonight. Final count of 3-1.
Oh, we've heard that song that they play in Wrigley Field after a Cubs win 3 games in a row, and I don't think that I'm getting to like that song very much at all.
Nope.
We don't hear it very often.
(3-1) our final score. Back with more in a moment.